This is my NES. It works great. This is Matthias Bayes's NES. It works mostly great. So if it's working, there's probably another good reason it's here. It's modding time. Matthias, or Matthias Bayes, the Retro Sega game dev, to give him his full name, asked me if I would take a look at his childhood NES. I don't get to work on many of these, and Matthias is a top bloke and supporter of the channel, so I said, yes please. A pile of Nintendo soon turned up, and first things first, I went to work on the power supply. This unit is Matthias's own childhood console, and very precious to him. So precious it ended up with his cousin. But don't worry, that story had a happy ending after he bought it back from his cousin for £5. I first checked the mains plug, something I always do. Back in the 70s and 80s in the UK, electrical appliances didn't come fitted with the plug as standard. You were expected to buy that separately and fit it yourself, which led to all kinds of horrific messes, some of which you can still see regularly today when testing old devices. This one is not actually too bad, just a dodgy stray wire poking out of the live connection. Harmless, but I'll snip it anyway. Okay, time to plug it in and see. Oh Lee, did you forget something? With UK mains plugs, you can't push them into a socket without that earth pin. It physically won't let you. Right, what's this doing then? The power supply outputs AC. The end looks to have been repaired at some point in the past. Matthias tells me his uncle was responsible for the fix and that it worked fine as far as he knew. And testing it, it looks to be outputting an expected voltage. I'm not happy to leave it like this though. There could be anything under that black tape. I think I can do a little better. Under the tape it actually looks to be a good job. Uncle Bayes just needed some heat shrink tubing and this would have been a good fix. What I'm aiming for here is something that's like a moulded plastic cover, and I think that's worked really well. Just a little crooked at the end. Just needs straightening out before it cools down. Hot. It's hot. It's quite hot. Bend it. It's not that hot, you wimp. I plugged the console in and got a nice red power light, but no action on the screen, which is pretty much what Matthias had warned me was the problem. What followed was a few days of mucking about with the cartridge slot, a known failure point on these, including boiling it, sanding it, bending its pins, and everything else I could think of. In the end, I got it working reliably and put the console away, ready for the next stage. The next stage being a Tim Worthington RGB mod, which took me a while to organise. Lovely Matthias told me there was no hurry and waited patiently for the parts to arrive, and time passed. You can tell how long ago it was, as my pinball table was still there. After a while the RGB mod arrived, and at that point I made a short video on my second channel where I unboxed the kit and talked about how I would probably get this knocked out in a couple of weeks. Oh, the hubris. That was 5 months ago, and after making that video I realised that the RGB mod for the NES required holes cut into the case, something I'm usually not comfortable doing. I contacted Matthias and he was equally hesitant. The project stalled as we discussed different options, such as a completely new case or a second-hand one. Both of these were expensive options. Shortly after that video I was contacted by a really nice guy called Merlin. Yes, that's his real name, and it's the coolest name ever if you want my opinion. Merlin answered all our prayers. He offered to send me a board he was working on. This board would replace the modulator power board in the NES. And as well as cleaning up the video signal with a much better designed layout, it would provide connections internally for the Tim Worthington RGB mod, and externally with a Mega Drive 2 style RGB video connector. And best of all, it didn't require any modification to the case whatsoever. Merlin sent over the board and assorted components, and I then was incredibly busy for the next few months. Well, it's finally time to get this done, so we can put this old footage away and switch over to the present. Or something. Right, first things first, I need to make sure this is working as I left it all those months ago. So I've attached a composite lead and the power, the original power supply, and I've got, this is Super Mario Bros and Duck Hunt. into the slot and click it down. I'll just show you what I'm doing here. So it clicks like that, press the power button, nothing. But if I do that, it works. And it's not just a fluke. This is a game that Matthias sent over with the system. This is the game he wants to play with this. It's something that he used to play back in the day with his mate. Nothing with it down. Click it up and it works perfectly. It's a very bizarre thing, and I've cleaned that socket a lot. That's with it up. And this cartridge is actually a bit flaky, this Mario Brothers 3. Perfect. We'll come back to that at some point, but we know it's working, so I can not worry about the cartridge slot for now. While this is opened up, the top part of the case is going out sunbathing. It's not too bad, it's not terrible. Yeah, so this is going to go out in the garden. You can see here, and the lighting doesn't change very much in here, and I have these cameras colour balanced, so we should be able to get a good before and after. But I mean, you can see it changes shade depending on what angle I hold it at. So let's go for flat, because then that's controllable. And dead centre, and we can do a before and after. I'm going to put this on a chair out in the garden. I'll take a picture. So we've still got the inside bits, so let's get that taken apart. Such an over-engineered mechanism. The top loaders are just a much, much better thing. Come on. There we go. Things I need to do. Remove the PPU, flatten down these capacitors so that they don't foul the bottom of the unit that's going in there. Might need to move that one and that one. And then I need to remove this. This is the modulator and power board. Why they combined the modulator? So there's a 7805 regulator in there, is it? Is it a 7805? There's a regulator in there. I'm pretty sure it's a 5-volt regulator. There's also the video and sound out there, the power in and an RF out. So it does an RF conversion in here. It has the video signals routed through there, the power going through here and being converted. This is an elegant solution. This is a mess. So I think I have to remove the solder from those points there and these points here to get this out. I might do that first, because this board, once this goes in here, this will work as a standard output, because it's the inputs come into here, from the video signal comes into here, and then the composite mod goes out here like it does normally here. So it does exactly the same, but it has all these other bits and pieces to convert to the RGB. So this section here, what Merlin did is he designed this so that the ground plane will be uninterrupted. This is a solid ground plane on the back here, which is going to act in much the same way as that. Probably a lot better. But the other thing it does is it doesn't cross, I'll put up a little graphic on the screen, it doesn't cross any power and video lines. So there's no interference from that. Okay, so first job is going to be remove this, fit this, and then worry about the next stage after that. This was a bit of a pig. I removed the solder from that point, that point, that point, and that point. in all of these points using a combination of braid, old solder suckers, new solder suckers, solder guns, 2 different soldering irons, another soldering iron with a bigger tip on it, that in the end everything is loose. I can see those wobbling, and yes, there we go. So now I can fit that. Right, the next thing I've got to do is solder this board onto these connections, but they've got to be level and straight that way as well. Oh, I'm going to do one to start with and get it level before I solder all of them. Let's do that one. Nope. That feels like it got it. Yeah, that looks good. That looks pretty good to me. Lovely. Now we can test it. Before I do, there's one thing on here that I'm missing, which is a ground connection. There's a point here. Connect ground to NES PCB. So I'll have to connect that ground to this ground on here. Otherwise, there's no electrical connectivity. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, I've got my bench power supply hooked up. Yes. So I can't see the difference because I'm only looking at this on my OBS capture on my laptop, which is a tiny little window, about 1/4 of the size of my laptop screen. But I have to say, it still looks good. Still looks really good. Right, I need to clean up, and then the next thing to do is the RGB mod. So the PPU chip needs to come out, and the RGB mod needs to go in. A little bit nervous about that. It's a lot of money, and it's not my money, but let's have a bit of confidence. So have I shown you this? There we go. Oh, that looks like it might be a tight fit. But we've got a palette selector switch there. AC, we've got video, but that can also be stereo. Well, it's not stereo audio, but you can have a left and right channel coming out of here if you want to. Yeah, and that's all controlled with these switches in here. That one's a bit awkward to get to. External or internal audio, but that's fine. It's an amazing job. I'm so impressed, Merlin. You're a very clever man. Right, so the next thing to do is remove the PPU and fit the RGB mod and put it back together, because it's going to go plain sailing. Fresh splosh of solder. Lovely long pins. Oh, so good. I'm looking at you, Commodore. That feels like it went well on this side. There's 1 or 2 blobs. especially that one. Maybe that one and that one, but that one definitely. Oh yeah, this is doing it. These are all free. Might be a bit more tricky getting in down this side. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'll get some of these. So all of these ones might need a little bit of... Yeah, that one's stuck. That one's stuck. I'm fairly confident the other side is free. Yeah, that side's come free. This side, not so much. I might need to run the hot air over that. Shouldn't take much. It's tiny little bits of solder that are holding it now. Yeah, it's lifting at this end. Oops. Use the proper tool. It's out. One PPU and one board with no damage. So this, I'm still not going to take it out of the packet, needs to go there. So that capacitor there. In fact, what I've got in here, it came with this kit to recap it, including a 220 microfarad cap for the power supply board, which I bought separately twice because I thought I'd lost them. But it also comes with all the other caps for this board. 2.2 microfarad and a 100 microfarad and a 1 microfarad. They're the only electrolytics on this board. 116 volt, that will be for that one. That might be the one. 2.2. So it was, look, it came with a voltage regulator. It's an excellent kit. They cover everything you need. So the next thing I need to do, okay, that will drop in there once I've cleaned out all the holes properly. Notches down here. Perfect. Right, this does need to be straight. So let's solder 2 corners. And check. Yeah, lovely. The amazing thing about these boards is everything is marked. So PPU obviously, but look, the logic chips, 74LS373, the SRAM is marked, the CPU is marked CPU. That logic chip is marked exactly not just the, the U1 or whatever. They're all, the part numbers are all on here. So that HC368A, it says on the board 40H368. CI. Even the what's that? The CIC chip here. That's a 74 series logic. But all of the capacitors as well. Every single capacitor has its value marked on the board. That's amazing. Why couldn't they carry on doing that? So I was thinking, I'd take these off one at a time so I don't get them modelled up. But it says 1 microfarad on there. This one, 100 microfarad. This one, 2.2 microfarad. amazing. Well done, Nintendo. Keep up the good work from 40 years ago. So that one, and the polarity is obviously marked. So that was the 1 microfarad, I believe. And the ones that are going back in are tiny, so I don't need to worry about bending them over. Positive lead there, negative lead there. I'm fairly sure. Maybe I do. I'm going to bend it over. Actually, I can bend it over that way. There we go. That looks good. So we've got nice flat capacitors there. Everything's out of the way. This ceramic one here, I might need to do something with that. Like that. Okay, that's done. The next stage of this part of the build is to attach the turn pin headers to the RGB board. The easiest way to get these perfectly lined up is to place the headers into the socket and then solder the board to that. Cleaning the board of all finger grease and oxidization will make soldering much easier and give better joints. 99.9% isopropanolamol and a cotton bud or paper towel is the way to go here. With the board roughly in place, I solder a pin in 2 corners and then check to make sure the board is level, which it is. And now, using my high-tech piece of wood, I can safely lever the board out of the socket beneath, before soldering the original PPU chip into the RGB board. Before I can do that, I need to snip off the tops of 1 row of pins, as they hold the PPU too far away from the board. I bet you'd like to see that. Alright, so what I think I just failed to record was me chopping down all of these pins and reflowing them. I did show that this was sticking up much higher on this side, and it's much better now. So you'll just have to use your imagination. The perils of YouTube videos. Number 1, not pressing record. God, I hope I put this in the right way up. I did. Phew. Yeah, happy with that. Alright, so everything's in place. There is one little thing that I've got to do first, or 2 little things I've got to do first. One is to bridge J7. J7 is over here. And J4, which is here. That's a nice little peak. That'll do. That's fine. I can tidy that up later. But the thing I want to do first is test this in its non-RGB mode, just to make sure that everything is still working as it was. I don't know if you need to connect the controllers, but I will anyway. Please work. It's not working. Oh dear. That's the face of a man who is trying to work out why the thing he expected to work isn't working. At this point, he's completely unaware he's missed a crucial step. Did you spy it? As this video has gone on quite a long time already, I'll cut it short here on a nice cliffhanger. But don't worry, all will be revealed very shortly in the next episode. It's mostly already edited. Here's a sneak preview of the opening. I'm an idiot. Also, don't worry, there are more mistakes and blunders in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.